computing. I'm a media arts and science major with a specialization in game design as well as digital storytelling. I'm going for an English minor, and I'm also going for an organizational leadership minor. I'm an O team member as well, so if you're a media arts and science student, there's a good chance that you might have me as your freshman year seminar mentor person for the fall, which we don't know really what that's going to look like yet, but it's nice to meet you anyway. And I'm also a member of the Honors College. For this upcoming semester, something that I'm really, really looking forward to is getting started with some of my video classes. It's something that I haven't really done a lot of research in with IT. However, I'm really in love with the professors that do it and all the work that comes out of those classes. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Next is I'm gonna let Tanaya introduce herself.
All right. Hey guys. I'm an informatics major as well. My name is Tanaya Hamilton. This fall, I'll be a junior going into the program of the informatics. Also, my specialization is currently human-computer interactions. When I get into my master's program, I might go ahead and change that up. But as of right now, that's what I'm doing. With my degree, I want to go ahead and design prosthetics. It's a goal of mine. And what was the other question you had? Sorry.
What are you looking forward to this semester?
Yeah, I mean, of course, everyone's probably looking forward to being in a real classroom setting and just seeing everybody back on campus. Yeah, but I'm kind of looking forward to the gym on campus being back open because I was going there for a minute. So.
Awesome. Hope, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Hope Willis. I'm going to be a junior in the fall. I am in the biomedical informatics program, and my specialization is in bioinformatics. I'm heavily involved in Greek life on campus, so I'm really looking forward to coming back in the fall and having that to be involved in. But I'm also looking forward just getting into like the knit and grit of like the main classes for my program this year.
All right, Stephen, you want to go next?
Yeah, so what's up guys? I'm Stephen Durham. I'm going into my senior year as a media arts and science major with a specialization in video and sound production. And I'm also an intern with IU Studios, and that's what I'm most looking forward to going back in the fall semester, just so I can keep creating most of the videos that you see on the university's YouTube channel.
I like that plug, that nice plug in real quick. If anyone else noticed, except me.
You want to go ahead, Izzy?
Oh, sure. My name is Isabel. As you can see on my screen, it says Izzy, but I like to go by Izzy, so it's okay. Either one's fine, Isabel or Izzy. But I'm an informatics major, and my specialization is applied data science. So I'm a big numbers person. I like numbers, logic, analytics, things like that. What I'm looking forward to most coming back to campus is Chick-fil-A, obviously. But also just being able to just walk around again, I guess. Just being able to like not even be close to people, just walking around campus. I feel like it's really peaceful when you just have the wind. Yeah. I think that's what I'm most excited about.
Awesome. How about you, Nicole?
All right. Well, hi, I'm Nicole. I am a media arts and science student. I have two specializations. It is game design and development as well as 3D animation. And I have a minor, which is the studio art and technology. So if you like art, I would recommend doing that minor, just because it combines your digital art as well as keeping you in line with traditional, and it teaches you like, realism and stuff like that to help bring over to the digital world. I'm from Hobart, Indiana, so I'm also up near Chicago. I mostly am a student worker. I work on the 4th floor at the IT building, so if you see me, you're welcome to say hi. And I'm most looking forward to actually being in a classroom, because doing online stuff is really hard for me, as I actually learned at the beginning of the semester, because I had a half a semester online class and I was like, I can't do this. And then the whole thing came online and I was just like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. So definitely being in person as well as seeing my friends, because I'm not a very social person, but I do need people. So definitely that.
All right, Chris, I think it's you. I think it's all you.
Okay, what's up, guys? I'm Chris. I'm going to be a senior in the fall in the Media Arts and Science program. Currently, I have 3 specializations, web design and development, game design and development, and digital storytelling. Of those, which I'm, finishing up this year, I'm definitely most excited about digital storytelling, so I have 1 class left for that. I also have 2 minors, human-computer interactions, as well as studio art and technology, which is a kind of like a partnership between the School of Informatics and Heron. So I have like a little bit of a traditional art background. And then the thing I'm most excited to do in the fall is start my grad classes because I'm in the accelerated master's program for human-computer interactions. So I'm excited to get that done and move out somewhere where it's nice and sunny all year round.
For sure. Also, for the new people who just joined, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. And also for anybody that's here, go ahead and feel free to just like submit your questions to the chat if you have any. For now, I'm just going to be asking the ambassadors. We're going to go around and just discuss some pretty basic information with you about our favorite things, our experiences on campus, but feel free to ask any questions that you may have. We'll do our best to answer them. I can tell you right off the bat, though, we're not exactly sure 100% about the fall in terms of how much is online and how much is in person. So for that kind of like question, we'll do our best, but I can't guarantee any answers. However, I do want to ask the ambassadors just go around, what is something that you wish you knew before attending IUPUI?
Wow, that's a great question. Something that probably would have wished I would have known about. I don't know. I wasn't really expecting to find community that well. I don't know, because like the campus is really huge, but I guess like trying to form a sense of like belonging, I guess, or more programs. Excuse me, more programs. But I mean, I found it pretty well. They sent a lot of emails on what you can get involved in. So, but I didn't know about that when I first came. It was kind of like my freshman year. Most of it was me kind of locking myself in my room and doing my work and then like heading straight to bed or like going to Tower to get some food. But
can attest to that. She was my roommate and she would be in bed at 9 o'clock every night.
I mean, yeah, but
I was trying to have fun and she was like, nah, it's bedtime, y'all. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Izzy knows
Yes,
that.
I
So
do.
yeah, but I kind of found more things to do like later on. So yeah, that's mine. Hope.
Alrighty, well, personally, I wish I would have known how welcoming everybody is when it comes to student groups. I have to admit, pretty much every student group that I've even gone to just the call-out meeting for, everyone's been ridiculously welcoming. Like, to like the extent, they really do look for members everywhere. So if you're curious about any student groups through the SOIC school specifically, don't be afraid to ask. With the cosplay club, which is one of that I'm a part of, the pandemic kind of messed up our general proceedings, so that's a little chaotic. But we did elect new like officers, so that will be a club this coming fall. But what about you, Hope? What's something you wish you knew about IUPUI before you came here?
I think it goes kind of with like what Tanaya said, because you do hear about IUPUI being like a big commuter school, but there's still like a lot of like student organizations through SOIC and just like IUPUI in general to become a part of, and it doesn't necessarily like have to be a club that has to do with like your major. There's just like a lot of things to do on campus that sometimes you have to dig for, but it's out there if you want to find it.
Definitely. Does anybody else have any super golden advice that they just absolutely need to hear? All right. If not, then I want us to go around and talk about our favorite class thus far that you've taken. It doesn't necessarily have to be from IT, but it definitely can be. What's your favorite class that you've taken, Chris?
Oh, by far, everybody knows my answer to this, but my favorite class that I've taken is documenting historical and cultural artifacts in Greece. And I spent a month out in Greece over last summer and got to do videography, interviews, all sorts of camera work, as well as like video editing, pre and post-production, script writing, things like that, out in Greece. And it was really awesome. We got to see some great historical sites. I think we went to five total different islands out there. And yeah, it was just an awesome time, and I got a lot of knowledge out of that class. So yeah, by far my favorite.
What about you, Nicole? What's been your favorite class so far?
Well, I've taken this class twice, and it was creature class with Professor Powers because I came in mostly doing humans, mostly drew humans. I wasn't really comfortable with anything outside of the realm, especially otherworldly. And so when I first took the class, I was like, okay, so I see. I didn't actually understand it until about halfway through the semester, and I was like, wow, I actually can be more imaginative than I think I am. And so I ended up taking it for a second semester because I realized that I wanted to do something like that with my capstone. So obviously I wanted to make more creatures, especially when it came from the world that I created. So definitely that was one of my favorite classes because it really helped open up my imagination. So yeah. And plus it's a great teacher, so.
What about you, Izzy? What's your favorite class that you've taken so far?
I think my favorite class has been, it's called a class, it's I-211, which is information infrastructure, which all informatics majors have to take. So I took it this past year, and we have to build a whole website in OOP, which is oriented, no, what is it called? Something like that. OOP stands for something.
Object-oriented process.
Yes, there we go, right there. So it stands for object-oriented programming, and you have to build a whole website using child classes, different things like that, things that I didn't even know coming into informatics at all. So I definitely learned a lot, but Louis, which is one of my favorite professors, which you will encounter Louis, all informatics majors will encounter Louis at some point. He teaches a lot of your core informatics classes. And he teaches it, and he did a really good job, especially because of the pandemic. Louis super best, yes, bro. Yeah, especially because of the pandemic, he had to transfer all of his in person to online, so he made videos, and you have to work in a group, so it's even for your final, so it was a lot more difficult. But it was definitely one of my favorite classes because of the result we got. We were able to build our own website, and I'm very proud of it. So, yeah, sorry if I ran on a ramble. But.
No, you're totally fine. I was gonna say, since both of you who have posted in the chat are informatics majors, do you have any questions specifically for our student ambassadors who are in informatics, whether it comes to choosing a specialization or some of the classes that you might have to take? Are there any questions so far? I give it just a second, but how does the 4+1 HCI master's program work? Which, are you asking, Chris, is that what you're doing? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Are you comfortable?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, so the 4+1 masters is, personally for me, it was made a little bit easier because I came in with some AP credits from high school, so I didn't have to, for instance, I didn't have to take finite math when I got here. And then I had a history credit and a language credit, I think. But anyway, So the 4+1 program is you will go through basically your first 3 years of your undergrad degree, and then in your senior year, you'll be taking things a little bit faster. And the goal is to get that senior year to be about half senior classes, along with like 1 or 2 grad classes each semester. And then that balances out so that in 5 years, instead of getting a just a bachelor's in 4 or a master's in 6, in 5 years you graduate with both degrees. And there is an application process for the master's, but if you talk to your advisor, they'll make sure you don't miss any important deadlines on that. And it's good to decide whether or not you want to do it as early as possible, just because that leaves more room in your schedule for your advisor to get you on the right track to have your core classes done so that your senior year is a little bit more free for those grad classes.
Great question, guys. And then our next question is, roughly how long did it take for you guys to decide a specialization? I know this like differs with, I think, just about everybody. Personally, it didn't take me really any time. I'm still kind of figuring it out though, because I picked digital storytelling immediately when I entered IUPUI, but I'm deciding whether or not I want to do video and audio or game design as a secondary specialization. But what about for you, Izzy, when you were in informatics, like how long do you think it took you to decide what your specialization was going to be?
So for the informatics degree specifically, it's really nice because you get to see, for your first 2 years, it's kind of like your general classes. So like it gives you a good overview of all the things that you could potentially go into specialization. So I remember my first year I took social informatics, which kind of talks like the pros and cons of technology. And it kind of like gives you some things that you can go into, like maybe you want to go into like AI, and which is human computer interaction, or some other technical things, or you want to just straight up code. So for me, it's going to be different for everyone, but coming in, I was so set on me going into a specialization of legal informatics. So set. But then it came to like, well, I didn't really see myself going down that path when I ended up almost taking one of the classes. So then I really got to look into like what other courses are there, what other, basically the whole shebang of major specializations, minors, everything. I got into like, okay, what do I like, what don't I like? And what I liked was a lot of like analytical things, like analyzing just numbers. So ultimately I ended up choosing applied data science, but there's a whole bunch of things you can go depending on how many credits you come in with, depending on what your interests are, like what you have room for, that you can go into. Because I know a lot of people are doing web design and human computer interaction because you can do both because of the credits you came in with. But you don't have to decide officially until your sophomore year is when a lot of that gets decided. But yeah, it leaves a lot of room for like whatever you would like to do. Yeah.
Awesome. No, that was a great answer.
That answers your question at all?
Well, I know it technically differs. Like you don't have to decide like in your first semester necessarily, but pretty much everyone at IT is going to tell you that the sooner you decide, just the sooner you get into those really specialized classes. But definitely take your time in terms of figuring out what it is that you want to do, because there are plenty of resources at IT to do just about anything you're looking to do. Our next question is, do most students have a minor, and are they usually similar to or completely different from the major? So there are like a lot of us that are doing different minors, different things like that. Like Nicole, you touched on your minor. So do you want to go into that just a little bit, like how you decided to do that?
Well, I guess it all depends on what you're looking forward, like what you plan on doing with it. Because I know a lot of people, they can go into like digital storytelling and have a business like minor because maybe they want to go more commercials, or it all depends on what you want to do. So I knew a lot of it, I wanted to either go into like movie industry, game industry, anything like that. So I decided, well, I might as well get used to like perspective drawing and stuff like that. to fully understand like color theory and actually create and render a kind of real environment. So that's why I ended up choosing to also go through Heron, which is similar but not similar to my major, because one of them I'm interacting with a 3D world, the other one, well, no, I guess technically they're both interacting with a 3D world, and this one's more 2D like based. So I just wanted to get a feel for both and understand both of them. And it doesn't necessarily have to coincide to directly what you're doing in your major, but it could be something that you're interested in. Because I know people also do minors. So if you're interested in working overseas, you can always minor in that language. I have taken Chinese classes, and then a lot of students here also take Japanese. So it all depends on what you're interested in, really.
What about anybody else? Is anybody else doing a minor?
We haven't heard from Steven. Maybe Steven wants to talk a little bit.
Steven, are you doing anything?
Well, I was gonna do a psychology minor, but then once I got through 2 psychology classes, I realized that they were basically going to make me into a psychologist, and that was too much work, so I dropped that.
Dude, I'm doing a psychology minor. It's not that bad. I really
Well,
enjoy it.
if you take cognition, that class is extremely hard.
No, I'm opting out of cognition. Nope. No,
Yeah,
my
don't
best friend's
don't
like,
take
you're
that
gonna
one.
love it, and I'm like, hard pass. No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I
only
will
reason
say, personally, for my minors, the way I'm setting it up is more so to make myself look really good in the realm of communication. So I am a media arts and science student. However, my 2 minors are a general English minor as well as a
Organizational leadership.
organizational leadership minor. So it's basically that. I hate saying it like this, but it is to look really nice on resumes, like knowing how to write well, knowing how to communicate with other people, knowing how to work in a team, knowing how to lead a group. Those are all things, valuable skill sets that employers look for, even though it's not directly tied to IT. There's a lot of minors here that you can make work with your IT degree. It just basically, like Nicole said, it's really going to depend on what you want to look like coming out of school. But there are a lot of programs here that you can take as minors. You don't have to take them completely as majors. So I hope those answers kind of helped you. Is there a minor that you're specifically looking for or looking into?
You can also unmute. We're not gonna harm anyone, I promise.
I was gonna say, if you're comfortable talking, for sure. But I didn't want to like make anybody super
Oh
uncomfortable
no, for sure.
if you didn't want to talk.
All right, I'm on.
Hello.
Okay, so I'm interested in like a lot of other side stuff, but I wasn't exactly sure, like you guys said, like which minor to do.
So I can butt in here just for a second and say that, so my minors, I kind of wanted to have to substantiate what I was studying. So I didn't take a lot of actually I took like no electives that were like outside of my realm of what I was studying really, because I just wanted to expand on this skill set that I was trying to go for. So that's why I picked HCI. It's technically a certificate, not a minor. But it's under that realm. So that's why I took that at first as an undergrad, to kind of see if that's what I wanted to do for my master's. And I figured out it was. And then I also figured on the design side of things, having a traditional art basis along with a graphical art basis is really good. And that's what led me to the minor with Heron, much like Nicole.
Yeah, definitely picking a minor is just, I picked it because I found psychology super interesting. So like a lot of people do things based on like, oh, it looks good on my resume to do this for what I want to go into. But it can also just be like for fun. Like I definitely, for me, mine's just for fun because of how much I already do outside of school, like that can count for that looks good on my resume. I just thought I'd do something for fun for me just because. I like psychology. So.
I think when Nicole was talking, I thought of odd boat analogy where like your major is like your motor and then your minor is the rudder that like guides you in a specific industry.
And then one thing that I was actually going to write in the chat, I actually started writing it, but your freshman year is a lot of exploring, especially it comes with your major. So your major, you take a lot of intro classes, like you take intro to game, you can take intro to, you actually do some coding classes just to see, oh, maybe you are interested in it. But so you can also take that in terms of majors. A lot of majors have, or minors, a lot of minors have intro classes. So if you take one or two one semester, take another two that you might be interested in the next semester, you can see actually where your interest lies. And then also you can be like Chris and just do, oh, I have 3 majors and 2 minors.
Or you can be like Steven, where
it's
completely stacked.
Yeah, it took me a long time to decide on a specialization. So by that time, I had put so much into 3 different paths that I was like, okay, I guess I'll have 3 specializations, and somehow it's working.
I also want to add too that like even if you don't pursue a minor, it's good to go out of your way to pursue the experiences that you want to work in outside of class. Because like me, for example, I want to make videos, so I have an internship that does videos, and I do stuff on the side. Because when you're looking for future opportunities, they're not going to look at what you did in school, they're going to look for what you did outside of class. So looking for those opportunities while you're still in school, and you can do them for, you know, either free or on the side just as extra experience, that'll help you a lot in the future as well.
I definitely would agree. So like if you're passionate about coding, you know, just code whatever you want. As long as you like get that out there and put it on GitHub and like an employer sees that, it's about the passion and about what employers want to see is passion. And I think that applies for all fields. You know, if you want to do videos, you're going to make a whole bunch of videos. If you're going to want to do web design, you're going to go into coding and you're going to want to code. If you want to do analytics, you're going to learn how to do every single software that's out there. You know, it's just a matter of where you want to go.
Right. I would say the quicker you learn to try to communicate with employers and gain information on what internships want, like what do employers want to see in the people who work for them. So basically I'm talking to Advanced Ortho Pro, which is downtown. They work with a lot of pediatric doctors on what they want like to see from their employees, like what kind of backgrounds do they want to see. Also talking to their vendors on how they create those prosthetic parts and everything. It just gives you a little bit more information on what you're getting involved in. I know like coming into this, I interned at Salesforce and I was like, yeah, I want to code, but then I was like, well, I can probably use coding to get involved more in how technology can help people live. So basically I went to a conference and they talked about how there was someone who was blind and he was like typing with, not blind, but deaf, and he was typing with his eyes. And I was like, that's really fascinating. So that's kind of how I got involved in wanting to design prosthetics. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's actually a really great leeway, which I love when it syncs up like this, because our next question is, what are some recommendations you guys have for extracurriculars, which I think that depends on where your interests lie, but I know that a lot of us are involved in a bunch of stuff on campus, like across campus. So for those of you like involved in other things, even outside of IT or maybe within IT, what are some of your extracurriculars that you guys do just for yourselves? And this is a ballpark, anybody can take this question.
You can go ahead.
Okay. I'm heavily involved in Greek life on campus. That was one way that I found another community for myself, since I'm not like from around the area, and coming to college, like, you're wanting to like find yourself and who you are and like a really good group of people. And I found that in Greek life. So obviously I'm in a sorority, but there's a lot of good fraternities on campus. And there's also a lot of multicultural sororities and fraternities. So there's like a group for everyone.
So besides my internship that I have with IU Studios, and I've been there since March of 2019, this past year I was also the vice president for the Informatics and Computing Student Council. And we basically oversee all of the clubs within the IT building, and we get like a certain amount of money each year that we can therefore give to each club. Like if they want to have a pizza party, they can ask for, say, like $50, and we can give them $50 for their pizza party. And then going into this year, I am going to be the video director for Jagathon, which is the, what is it, like 18-hour dance marathon that we do for Riley Children's Hospital. And then I'll probably have another internship for the fall too, but I'm not sure about that yet. So I'm pretty busy.
Yeah, I've got 2 internships as well, and those are always good just to get your work experience out of the way. Plus, as a media arts and science student, and I think this goes for informatics as well, we have to have an internship anyway to graduate. So it's good to look for those things and get involved kind of in your prospective work environment early. Also, I'm a part of the Honors College, which has been great. You get a bunch of additional resources, and like we have a whole kind of section in the basement of the library for honors students to like study and work together and things like that. Also, in the past, I have been the webmaster for Alpha Lambda Delta and Phi Eta Sigma, which are the 2 honor societies on campus. I did that for a year, and then I was an O-team leader like Kate for about like 2.5 years, and I can say that without a doubt O-team is one of the best things on campus and one of the best things to get involved in. It's an awesome community, and getting involved in that early is great too, because then you just get to spend like 4 years of cool paid summers with your friends and, you know, guide new freshmen in the right direction while having fun. I don't know, it was just a great experience.
So I'll put my 2 cents in here. There's definitely lots of things that you can get involved in on campus. It like Kate was saying, there's different, like, it just depends on your interest. I know we have like a week of welcome, which I don't know how that's gonna look like going back to campus, but it's basically like where you go and you see that all these clubs table, or hopefully it looks the same, but where all these clubs table, we have all these events where you can get to know people and to like meet new people. There's definitely so many things you can do. There's plenty of research that can be done around if anyone's interested in like conducting research. Definitely some like fun things. So the Gamers Hall every Friday. I know, like Kate was saying, in cosplay club, there's sororities, fraternities, just all around, like whatever you're interested in, whatever you want to do, there's probably something on campus for it. So yeah.
And there's also a lot of opportunity.
Oh yeah, and there's being a student ambassador, so there's being like us.
A lot of opportunity for student employment, for instance, the student ambassadors, which we are all a part of. It's a group of students that specifically are for SOIC. We give tours and information to prospective students. So like, for those of you who have been in contact with us very regularly, you get a lot of information from us that way. Which we do have applications, I think, opening in the fall. So if you're at all interested, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm not really sure what the entire hiring process of that is right now, but I know as of this past semester, we've been looking into hiring new employees. But yeah, O-Team is like a really great thing to get involved with as well. That comes around, I think, pretty much every January. The end of the fall semester is typically when you can start applying for that. I am a member of the cosplay club, which it sounds kind of dorky, but it's actually like super fun. We just meet on Fridays and we make our cosplays, and then we go to a convention, which didn't happen this year because of the pandemic, but typically it happens, and you go, and it's a really great time. The honors
What convention is it?
super cool, huh?
What convention is it?
We were supposed to go to Techo this past
Okay.
semester, but that didn't really work out. Also because
Yeah.
it was in April, and that's when like Capstone was happening too, and I was like, that the timing of that one just was really horrible. But hopefully this coming year it'll be a little bit different. But the Honors College is also a really great resource, and something to be a part of if you're interested at all in that. They give a lot of scholarship money out too if you happen to be one of those recipients. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can get involved with on campus. It just does depend on your interest. I'm not too well versed in what informatics has to offer in terms of like student involvement, but I'm sure there's something. SOIC, we always have stuff going on in the building. But I did want to ask the ambassadors a couple more questions. What kind of scholarships have you guys received since you've been here? Like just talking about different resources that are available for students. What are you guys involved in that way? I know there are definitely some of you in here right now that have some stuff. Yeah, Nicole.
Sorry. Actually, my end of my sophomore year, because you're able to apply your sophomore year for these three, but I ended up getting the Make Your Mark scholarship. I ended up getting the Perseverance scholarship, as well as the overall Media Arts and Science scholarship. So those are ones that you can apply to for your sophomore year, because it's for upperclassmen. So junior and senior year you receive them, and it's like one of them is like $1,000 a year, one of them is like $150, and the other one's something else. I'm not good with numbers, but it definitely has helped me a lot. So if you ever read about that, just know that when you become a sophomore, it can definitely help out, and I recommend applying, because not that many people do, because they don't think they'll get in, etc., etc. Like, I recommend applying. Even if you don't think you fit them, apply. I know people say that all the time, but it's genuinely true.
It is true.
Yeah, those are my three.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, so I got the admit scholarship for SOIC, and then as well as I've got the Stimler Study Abroad scholarship, and that's what paid for like half of me going to Greece, and that was through Alpha Lambda Delta and Phi Eta Sigma. That was a national scholarship, and then there was also the Honors College. So when you apply to the Honors College, if you're admitted under one of 4 scholarships. And then I have one of those. But it's good to apply for all of them, because you never know.
You never know.
I will mention one more type of scholarship that wasn't mentioned, which is like travel scholarships that IUPUI offers. So this past year, I was able to apply and go to Tapia conference with the Richard Tapia conference, which is basically like a tech conference in California, San Diego. So really nice. If you want to apply, I definitely suggest applying. But I basically got to go to California for free. Got to travel there and see participate conferences. They have a big career fair, but they also have workshops that basically are for students that maybe want to improve tech skills or want to know how to navigate the tech world and how to get a job and things like that. So it was definitely a great experience, and I definitely suggest applying to those type of scholarships that are available through SOIC.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing about the Grace Hopper one, but also they can also give you money for regular schooling. Like if you apply, like go to their website, they have many different scholarships that you can apply to. Also wants to get you, like Chris said, to study abroad. I know there is a program, it's not really studying abroad, it's still in the States, but you can do like an exchange student program. They give you kind of a scholarship to go to their school and take classes there.
Alrighty, and then I did want to ask, just like I know we're getting closer to the tail end of this cute little webinar, but let's talk about housing. How many? I don't remember all of the ambassadors who have lived on campus, but what have your experiences been like staying here, just like at IUPUI, whether it was a dorm room or one of like the Riverwalk apartments or a townhouse? Like, what was your experience like?
My freshman year, I lived on campus and I really liked it. For me, it was like a way to get like acclimated with Indianapolis, but also just like with the campus, because you're obviously right there and it's really easy to get everywhere. So you kind of figure out where you're going. But I really liked it. I would recommend it to at least doing it your freshman year.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, I would say so. Like, I stayed in North Hall in the SOIC floor, the learning community, my freshman year, and it was awesome because everybody that I met there as part of Bridge, which I also did, is still my friends to this day. And if I didn't do Bridge or live on that floor, I probably wouldn't have any of those friends. So it's definitely probably the highlight of college for me.
Yeah, I can say when you're there, it's easier to. I know I discussed like my freshman year was kind of harder for me to go out, but like as I started to like get involved with different things, I got different emails for things. It's easier to just walk on campus and go to an event you heard is at the campus center. For example, like they play movies all the time at the campus center. They have different programs going on in the campus center. There's multicultural events, such as like African dancing and like other things that you probably never know about that I mean, like on a daily basis you don't hear about. So just getting involved in campus life was easier because I mean, you're right on campus. You can't go anywhere else. I mean, my freshman year, I didn't have a car, so I was kind of stuck on campus, but yeah, so.
I lived in 2 dorms, but the one thing I'm going to talk about first is the pro about living on campus, which is just you don't have to drive in Indy traffic. You just got to walk. You don't have to deal with parking. But the first dorm that I lived in was Ball Hall, which is the one with no AC. And actually, it wasn't bad. I loved Ball Hall. I loved the community, and I lived on the 3rd floor. You guys are getting it renovated, so you guys will have AC. But it was such a fun time for me there. And then I also lived at North Hall. I was not in the SOIC like floor. I was actually on the 1st floor for my sophomore year, and I also loved it. I loved living on campus. I loved it. And then for my junior year, I actually lived in an apartment outside of campus, and it wasn't like one that was really visible to school. And then it was still close, but you do have to walk a little bit more. You do have to, it's different from rent than it being in your bursar. It all just depends on really what you're looking for, but I do recommend living on campus, especially like Hope said, for your first freshman year.
I'll reiterate that. I haven't lived on campus since my first year. I only lived on campus for 1 year because I was required to for the honors college. So I lived on the honors floor of the tower, and it was great. I thought the tower was awesome. So just because that's like the only dorm I think you haven't heard of, tower's cool. And then living in an apartment is also cool, but I do have to drive and pay for a parking pass, even though I'm just across the river from campus.
I feel like too, like building off of their points, the biggest advantage is like if you live on campus your first year, you can make friends, and then once you have like your group of four friends, then you guys can get an apartment your second year, because that's what I did, and it's way better than just getting random roommates in an apartment, because if you hate your roommates and they're annoying at an apartment complex, you can't do anything about it. So you kind of need to make sure you like who you're living with then.
All right, so I know we have about 10 minutes left. Are there any like super pressing questions that you guys have about campus life, classes at SOIC, anything like that?
We're open books, so any question goes.
I did want to leave a couple minutes. I know we've thrown a lot of information at you today, but we want to get you as well acclimated as we possibly can, because we understand that, especially this coming semester, when things are a little bit uncertain as to how everything's running, I know it's important to like ease some of that anxiety. So if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
In terms of like a semester schedule of classes, how many are, well, first, like how many classes do you like have in your lineup, and how many of those are electives that are not necessarily towards your major directly?
I can say personally, this semester I think I'm technically taking 6 classes, but one of them is for O team, so it like kind of counts, but it's also only 1 credit hour, so it's not really like a full like class towards my degree necessarily. Of the 5 classes that I'm taking, like not including that one, I would say probably 2 right now are like more elective classes, whereas 3 are pretty much like completely towards my major degree, like they're in that lineup. But I know it does depend, especially if you're taking minors or anything like that, it can kind of fluctuate. So 2 of my classes are going towards like 2 separate minors, whereas 3 of them are focusing on my major this semester. But for anybody else, like what do you guys' schedules look like this semester?
Well, specifically for, I'm so sorry. So specifically for my freshman year, so the average for a semester is generally 5 classes. You know, each 3 credits, 15 credits right there. 16 credits, 15 or 16 credits because it all varies. So just think generally 5 classes. But you don't have to. You can take more. You can take less. You can take higher credits. You can take lower classes or lower credits. For example, you can take like a yoga class, like, you know, just to get you up in the morning or something like that, just to help clear your mind. But when it comes to freshman year, generally that's when you do take your classes that aren't related to your major, and that's like you know, math, English, speech, science. Or you can be like me and take all your science credits your junior year. Don't do that. Or you can, doesn't really matter. But you don't have to necessarily follow a plan. It all depends on what you want to get out of the way, what you're just like, I can hold this off a little later. But your advisors will definitely help you in terms of to help guide you and keep you on track. Because I know every single time I go into my meeting with Melinda, she's always just like, well, you're on track. Here are some ideas that you can take. What are you interested in for your next semester? It's really all up to you. Like, you don't have to follow a direct route. You can technically make your own direct route, which isn't that how we got HIM? It's just like, it became so much people were looking at one path that like, they were just like, let's make it a major. And you can do that. It all just depends on what you want to take and what, it's really up to you.
Well, depending on who you are and what you're doing.
Because I know I talked with my advisor, Alicia, and I wanted to go ahead and take mostly electives when I go to the school in Florida that I was looking for, the exchange student program. I'm trying to get all of my required classes done here at IUPUI. So it just depends on what you're trying to get done first. So this is the only summer I plan not to take summer courses, just because the whole pandemic thing. I didn't really want to take a lot of classes online, because I know last summer I took like at least 3 classes, but they were all in person. Well, there was one online, but most of them, 2 of them were in person. So yeah, I didn't want to take them all online. It was just what you want to do with your credits and everything. So
Cool.
Questions, Kate?
Oh no, I was just reading Taylor's message in the chat. Yeah, we do have I think they're like the IGPS like degree maps. So like there are plans if like you don't know necessarily how you want it structured. There are general like guides as to like how you go about getting your major, and then as you get into the program, you can begin to tweak those, which that just best serves you. So like when I first came into this program, I carried some credits from high school in, and so there were actually 2 semesters that I could drop down to like 13 credit hours per semester, and like it didn't affect, you know, my pacing with my degree. It didn't affect anything really. It just, I got to take kind of a lighter semester. And so in terms of like when you come to school, the average typically what they want you to hit and to like graduate on time, but like there's not really an on time with graduating. It's whenever you feel like you're finished. The typical like average that students do is between 15 and 16 credit hours per semester, but like I said, depending on what you come in with, that really can fluctuate. But to meet like the full-time student thing, you do have to hit 12 credit hours, which is typically like like maybe 4 classes on average. So but yeah, you can load up if you want to, because we do have banded tuition. So if there was one semester you wanted to take another class and have 6 classes, you're pretty much in the right to go ahead and do that. But we are getting close on time, so if there are no other questions, I know that some of you are in like the group chat already that we have on GroupMe. Feel free to reach out on there if you do have any questions or follow-up questions for us or concerns about next semester. If there are any lasting words from the ambassadors that they want to send you with, I'll go ahead and let them say that now. But other than that, I think you guys are pretty much free to log out, if that's all. But yeah, thank you for showing up. We really appreciate it. I hope this was a helpful session for some of you.
Yep. Thank you all.
Oh, no, thank you for coming.
Thank you all.